Hey everybody, welcome to this week's midweek 5 question from this past week's sermon. We talked about John at chapter 5, where Jesus healed someone who was paralyzed for 38 years. And of course, in typical Jesus fashion, it was on the Sabbath. So the religious leaders of the day did not like that because of their legalistic, hypocritical, made-up traditions of working on the Sabbath. They had a whole bunch of rules to make sure that people did not work. And apparently, healing someone and then telling that person to pick up their mat and walk, picking up their mat and carrying it was considered work and breaking the Sabbath in the Jewish leaders' eyes. And even though there is nothing in the Bible about not picking up a mat and walking with it, in their mind, that constituted a sin. And the question that came in about this account of Jesus in John chapter 5 is, where exactly were the religious leaders? That this paralyzed man was at the pool, kind of like on the outside of town, and he was at the pool because there was a rumor that if the water gets stirred up, that was actually an angel, and if he got dipped in the water first, he would be healed. The temple was kind of close to that pool. So we read in the story, it says that the guy went from the pool and somehow made it to the temple area, the outskirts of the temple, and that's when he ran into Jesus. The text actually doesn't say where the Jewish leaders were. It just says that the Jews were saying to the man who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath. It's not lawful to carry your mat." It says that Jesus found him in the temple, and then Jesus interacted with the leaders, but doesn't really say where the Jewish leaders were. Did he tell the guy with the mat in the temple, like outside the temple, at the pool? We don't know. The text doesn't say. And I know in some popular films of Jesus or TV shows that depict this story, sometimes the Pharisees are at the pool. And I wouldn't put it past the Pharisees from hanging out by the pool, making sure no one was breaking Sabbath, being, Sabbath police. They could have been outside the temple. They could have been in the temple. Like, we just don't know. And I think that's an important aspect of Bible study and Bible reading, is that we don't want to project too much of our own imagination into the story if it's silent. If there's no details about where the Jewish leaders were, then that's not an important part of the story. The important part is that the leaders were talking to Jesus and to the man who was healed. If the location was important per se, then John would have included that in his account. That God's not hiding anything from us. He's not keeping anything from us. That if there were details that we are supposed to know that would help us understand the text better, God would have put it in the book using the inspired writers. So that is my big thing when it comes to this question and this video, is that when you're studying the Bible, make sure, even when you're just reading the Bible, make sure you're not bringing your own assumptions and details to the text, because that could get you tripped up. That could even get you more confused than you maybe already are about a story or a verse or a section in the Bible. And I could probably do a whole hour-length video on that, but I'll just leave it for right now, is that when you're reading scripture, try to be as open-minded as possible and just let the text speak. Don't try to force locations. Don't try to force groups of people in the story that may or may not be there, etc., etc. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on Sunday.